Carolina and Company Live is sponsored by the businesses, organizations, and groups featured in this program. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of WPDE ABC 15, WWMB CW21, or its employees.
You're watching Carolina and Company Live. Your source for fun, entertainment, and events. With your hosts, Cecil Chandler and Amanda Sellers. If it's happening in the area, it's on Carolina and Company Live.
And hello, everybody. Welcome to Carolina and Company Live. We're so glad you're with us today. We've got a real important and a serious show today that's going to help a lot of people that's watching. There's a big problem in this area, and we're going to tell you all about it and what to do about it.
That's right. We're talking about addiction. SOBA Recovery Centers is here. They're going to be up in just a little while to talk about this problem and how it's impacting this area. But first, let's check out our weather.
I hit rock bottom and thought there was nowhere to turn.
I couldn't stop partying.
And was failing in everything.
Then I discovered SOBA College Recovery.
And that my addiction was a symptom of a much deeper problem.
And if I didn't address the problem,
I'd never recover.
SOBA College Recovery is a holistic drug, alcohol, and addictive behavior treatment program. If you or a loved one is suffering, call 888-523-7001. Get help. Call SOBA College Recovery. Start healing today.
And welcome back. That's what we're talking about today on Carolina and Company Live, SOBA South Carolina Recovery Centers. And you're going to learn a lot today from watching this show. So if you know somebody that, is addicted to a drug or something or needs help, we're going to tell you how to get a lot of it today.
That's right. And our friends from SOBA Recovery Center are here. I'm going to introduce them. We have Greg Hanley. He is the founder and CEO of SOBA Recovery Treatment. We have Daniel Baldwin, actor, director, producer, and SOBA alumni. Philip Chasen is here. He's the owner and operator of SOBA College Recovery, and Joe Pomalis, and he is the clinical outreach coordinator and advocacy director for SOBA. Welcome, guys. Thanks for coming on the show and talking about this huge issue. All right, so we are seeing the opiate, epidemic in this area a lot. Talk to us a little bit about that and how, it's really affecting this area. People think South Carolina. They don't think it's here, but it's here.
Well, there's a word missing from epidemic. It's a contagious epidemic.
Absolutely.
And it's spreading not just here, but like wildfire all throughout the United States. And it's not getting better, it's getting worse. People are only now starting to talk about it, and we really appreciate you letting us come on the show and talk to you about it, because people need to know that this can't be a dirty secret in a church basement anymore.
That's right.
It's affecting, I was saying, this isn't in your backyard anymore, this is in your house. And it's not some bad person downtown with the brown paper bag. It is the cheerleader, the football player, the kid next door. Our treatment, if you took a look at the census of our treatment center, it would look like a high school picture or a college picture of the kids that are coming in.
And parents are saying, no, it can't be my kid, but it is.
Yeah.
It is. They've said that specifically. And when we're talking to them, they'll come in and think their kid is on, not sure what it is.
Just
and
drinking
you
a little
should
something.
See the look on the face when parents realize that their kid has been on heroin for 2 years and they didn't know it.
Wow, okay. Now, let's talk a little bit about SOBA. You guys have facilities, Texas, Arizona, New Jersey, California, and now South Carolina, but there's a model you guys are using in New Jersey that is with the law enforcement, and it's working. So can you guys talk and speak a little bit to that and how that's working here in South Carolina?
Yeah, absolutely. So earlier in the year, we developed an outreach initiative, the SOBA Outreach Initiative, implemented so far in New Jersey and New York. You see, it's been such a problem. For a long time, we've been attempting to arrest our way out of the addiction epidemic, out of the addiction crisis, especially now over the past few years. The opiate epidemic has exploded. Police are arresting more people than they've ever arrested. They're Narcanning more people. So it's not just the law enforcement. We see hospitals inundated with people with overdoses. They don't have the resources to be able to treat these people. Law enforcement aren't trained on how to treat these people, and they're tired of it. Law enforcement are tired of arresting people. They're arresting the same people. They're going in and out of the jail, costing all sorts of money, in and out of the hospitals. So we developed an initiative where we partner directly with law enforcement and work in a few different capacities on getting help to these people that are so desperately needed. So if somebody's arrested, we'll engage that person, we'll get their information and walk them through the treatment process. If somebody gets Narcan and they go to the hospital, we'll engage that person to make sure they get where they need to go so they don't come back to the hospital, so they're not arrested again.
Right.
It's such an important thing that hasn't been done, and we're really collaborating with different arms to really make this happen.
All right, now we're talking about some staggering figures in Horry County alone on overdose.
Yeah. In Horry County alone, since the beginning of the year, up until September, 674 Narcan deployments, which is a huge number. Thank God it's available. 674 lives saved. 81 overdoses, 81 overdose deaths. Averaging nine a month, and that's from what we pulled. We know numbers aren't being coded in the right way. We think it's probably even more than that.
Wow.
But they're getting to the hospital and they're going right back out to what they were doing before, because they don't have the resource at the hospital to have somebody engage them that understands, how to navigate that guy into a treatment center.
They're just there to treat them, take care of them, and they let them back go. They're not equipped, and so that's what you guys are trying to do, is create an initiative to equip them.
Let's put it in a perspective that people can understand better, because it's more accepted. You're a smoker, your chest starts to hurt. You go in and have a doctor examine it, and they say, you've got 2 golf ball-sized tumors in each lung. What's your next step? You're going to go see a specialist, and you're going to go get the treatment done, because you have accepted the fact that this disease will kill you. And you're going to try to quit smoking, obviously.
Right.
Well, we're the guys who are going to help you try to quit smoking. You've got this problem. It's here. Let's forget about trying to hide it anymore. It's in our living rooms, as Greg just said. So these kids out here are facing, in their high schools, every high school in South Carolina, they're facing the choice: are they going to join some of their fellows and do this drug, or are they, and when they do it, they have no choice anymore. They have the cancer. They can't get rid of it without help.
Right.
There's no cold turkeying, I'm just going to quit. You're addicted, physically addicted to heroin.
All right, now what can parents do? How do they confront their kids about a problem?
Yeah, have a
How you doing,
conversation.
Greg?
It's all starts with a conversation. So the idea of, first of all, they're not bad. They're sick. So you talk to them as you would about any other illness that somebody has that needs to get treatment. You do it with love and compassion, and the first words out of your mouth should be, "We're worried about you," and we have talked to somebody, and we're worried about the direction your life is going in. People, a lot of times, they want to try to figure out, when is the right time to go to treatment? Do I have an alcohol problem or a pill problem or whatever it is? And it's not all that complicated to figure out. It comes down to, do drugs and alcohol consistently interfere with you having a good life? And if it does, whether it's alcohol, whether it's pills, whether it's heroin, then you need to do something about it. You need to get some help. This heroin epidemic, it is bigger than what a kid can fix, or parents and a kid can fix. It's bigger than that. So there's a detox process that, and the other thing is this: you can find thousands of different kinds of places to go. I'm an advocate for my treatment centers are not punishing, and they're not a hospital environment. So you have to, with the young people that are coming in, they've got to be engaged, and they come in, they're going to go through a detox process where they have medications to get them over the hard part. They'll have nurses that'll be nice to them, and doctors that understand what they need. Then after the detox, they get treatment, and they get psychological, and they get psychiatric help. So those things that happen to them, they can deal with them, and they deal with it over a period of time. Then they go into a day program, which is kind of letting the rope out. They have case managers that are helping deal with problems. They lost their license, they dropped out of school, their work needs paperwork for disability, all the different things, so that when they integrate back into society again, they're prepared for it, and they've experienced things that they need to experience.
And so they have people coming alongside of them to help them climb what seems like a mountain to them to get up. They have people coming along and that make them feel normal because they're also surrounded by a community, correct?
This is true, but I need to explain something that maybe the audience doesn't understand that we see firsthand, particularly these gentlemen do, and that is Greg and the team say something to parents all the time. Treat it as if it's an emergency, because it is. The drugs that are on the street now have an evolutionary process. They're now being made with other additives and other things that are in there that make them even more powerful and more dangerous. And the advent now of fentanyl being added into the drug. Now we're talking about in a single dose, one shot when a person is injecting heroin, 2 grains or even a single grain of salt, that much more fentanyl could kill the person shooting it. 1 grain of salt.
20 times more powerful. And now they have a new one, and these aren't poppy filled, these are chemically made.
Sure.
And they have a new one now that is 30 times, 20 times the dose of heroin.
Is this street stuff you're talking about?
Yes. Yeah, they're putting it in, so it's cheaper to get fentanyl than to have to go through the whole process again, heroin.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the drug dealers are cutting it in, and we see sometimes 6 overdoses at one time.
Wow, and this is also the kind of thing that, somebody tries this new thing for the first time. I mean, it can kill you the first time.
Oh, yeah.
One time.
One time, that's all, and you don't know if you're going to be the person or not.
But what's worse is the guy who's used to doing it
Yes.
gets his hand on a batch. We're not talking about something that's being weighed with an electron. This is a guy eyeing it up, throwing it in the batch, spinning it around. You get the end part of the batch that got a little too much in it, and you're done.
You're done.
You're done.
Well, and we've been here for a couple of days now.
Yes.
And almost everybody that we talked to that knew what we were doing knew somebody directly affected by this. But wasn't in their family. I think we've had, 5 people tell us, oh, my younger brother, my sister, my nephew died from an overdose.
Somebody,
right here.
Somebody knows about it. I mean, I don't care who you are, you know somebody that had this problem. And a lot of people, it starts with like an injury in school.
Right, a sports injury, something like that.
Yeah. I had a picture in Texas that was this kid from way out in the middle of the country. And I go, how did you end up being a heroin addict? And then I realized it's the same as all of them. They took a pill, they got addicted to it, couldn't afford it, could not get it, and the same people selling the pill on the street will sell them a bag of heroin. Wow. So the price went down, how easy it is to go down, and I'm just going to smoke it once. I'm never going to shoot it. And then they hang around long enough and they go, I'm going to shoot it once, but I'm never going to share a needle. And then they start shooting it, and sooner or later, they're sharing needles, and they have hepatitis C or HIV. You know what it's like to see a 24-year-old girl with hepatitis C? We were sitting talking to an audience yesterday, and there happened to be a girl in the front row trying to get treatment here that didn't know how to do it.
Wow.
And I was telling the story, and the girl goes, I have hepatitis C, 24, and I can't quit using.
Well, here's a stat for you. So, drug and alcohol overdoses, and very rarely do we see someone overdose on alcohol, but drug overdoses were not even in the top 20 in the list of causes of death in the United States. It's now in the top 10 5 years later. Wasn't even in the top 20, it's now in the top 10. It will leapfrog things that we're used to, like cancer, if we don't do something about it soon.
Well, the problem we're seeing when something else comes out on the street, when they can't afford to get a prescription on it, something else new comes out every time you turn around on the street, and people want to try it. These people do.
Yeah, whatever's cheap, whatever's easy, whatever. And this is what I'm saying, it's a mental health issue.
Sure. Oh,
so
absolutely.
when you have no value as a human being, and you have all of these things that you're carrying around that makes you feel like you're a really bad person, the solution, the go-to solution, is to use a drug.
You're filling a void.
Most of the kids that we have in, or most of really all of the people across the board, and we treat any age, any drug, alcohol, anything, and I have specific centers that people can go to that they're going to be around people that they would be used to being around. So I have one that's an over 40 pill mom place, and it's moms who are in there, and I have ones that are you know, these 20-year-old heroin guys that are in there. But the thing about it is that you need to get treatment for what is happening, just right away.
Get it now.
And so that's pretty neat that you have different places for them to go. So you're not, someone who struggles with alcohol is not going to be in the same place as someone who, a 20-year-old addicted
No, there'll be a
to heroin.
mix of that, but
Okay.
it's mostly age and,
Right.
where they're at. So you're not going to
Where they're at in
have
their life.
the young kid going in and being with a bunch of guys our age. It's mostly, we're going to figure out where it's going to be more comfortable and the best surroundings
And
to it. We have
provide the best
one
results.
center that has a lot of LBGT clients.
Sure.
And so they have programs specifically to things that are going on with them. You can't have one size fits all. So you do a biopsychosocial, you figure out what's going on, and you develop a treatment plan specifically for the client. Most everybody of the young kids, what I was going to say is they come in with anxiety and depression. That's the number one thing. And instead of figuring out how to do things to get through that, and their level is a little higher, they start throwing alcohol and pills and drugs and things at it, and then they end up in a trick bag.
All right, Philip, I want to ask you this. I mean, the holiday season's here, you know, we're dealing with that now. You know, why is this such a tough time, you know, for people to stay sober and off of drugs and alcohol?
Yeah, well, you know, during the holidays, there's a lot of drinking that goes on. And like Greg was saying, a lot of underneath drug addiction is anxiety and depression. But, you know, there's a lot of anxiety that happens hanging out with your family if you're sober and everybody's drinking. It's kind of an uncomfortable environment. And I remember our first year running our treatment center out in New Jersey, we said, so it's the holiday time and these guys want to go home, what can we do? And Greg said, you know, we have them go home for maybe a few days, a short period of time. They don't stay the whole time, and we have some type of a plan for that guy. If he becomes uncomfortable, he can always come back. We keep the treatment center running. We have our own holiday parties that we do there, and so we have a community that's safe for them during those times, and they can still go out. But it's well thought out because he sees the same things everywhere.
Well, I've seen that cycle, and I'll tell you what the cycle is. So you're the guy who has 3 brothers that are actors and a family that looks at him and goes, gosh, I hope he's going to be okay this Christmas. And so you've got something to prove. I'm sober now, I want my family to see how well I'm doing and so on. But what the problem is, the family still remembers, they only see you 2 days, 2 holidays. You walk into that hornet's nest and you're the guy that caused a lot of trouble and that created a lot of stress and anxiety for the family. So you're walking in wanting everyone to notice you, and what happens when you walk in and they go, so what? You're sober for 3 months. What does that mean?
Talk about
what about
depressive
the
and anxiety.
19 years you tortured us? You know, and so you're still going to get all that kind of residual anger from people. That's why Philip brings up a very good point. Have a plan, go in, see them the day before Christmas, and then get out of there. You've showed them a little bit of it, and let it happen slowly so you don't put yourself in a situation where you're in pain and then you want to go ahead and use again.
We get a flood of people in from right after Thanksgiving and right after Christmas, and certainly right after New Year's are the ones that hung on from Christmas. But so many times kids will come home from school, and you know, you've seen your kid and he looked like he grew 2 inches. When your kid comes home and you see they lost 30 pounds and they're white, then we get the call from that.
Well, now tell me a little bit about you know, family support. You've got to have the people in the treatment centers that support you, but as far as the family, do you guys do anything to educate family?
Oh yeah, it's part of the program as the family groups, as long as, and there's privacy, so the clients can decide whether or not to have the therapist deal with the families. But we usually encourage them to, because think about it, a mom whose kid, by the time your daughter ends up in treatment, you're in post-traumatic stress. And you don't know what to do with them when they come home or what the good advice is going to be. And it's to help the parents figure out what to do with themselves, or the husband, wife, brothers, sisters. And the family dynamic is very important because nobody knows what to do. My family didn't know what to do with me when I got home.
All right. Now, Joe, let me ask you this. When you're talking about, you know, you've got a kid at home. Say I have a young kid at home, and how do I confront him? What do I ask him? Do I just have him tested, or how do I do it?
Well, that's definitely one thing you can do. It's something that I talk to so many parents, and I always say, if it seems like something's up, smells like something's up, something's up. Nobody knows your kids better than you. So it's so important. We're so quick as a society to really try and brush that under the rug, or be in denial, or maybe they're just experimenting and they'll be fine because they're at that age. With what's going on today, experimenting, prescription painkillers, opiates, heroin, there's no experimenting. People are dying at record numbers, so it's so important to confront them, to educate yourself. What are you going to do if there is a problem, and just to really come from a place of love. We always talk about tough love, and it's so important to come from a loving place and really care. This is your child, and it's so dangerous. It just has to be had. The conversation has to be had. We know what to look for, the signs. If you see the friends changing, if you see people lose motivation, they start to do worse in school.
Get a drug test too.
Yeah.
Go to the drugstore, get a drug test,
right.
And it's kind of like a DUI test. If you put a drug test in front of a kid and go, hey, I'm a little worried about you, people been concerned, I'm pretty sure you're not using drugs, but I just need to know. So go ahead and pee in this cup. You pull off a strip and it tells what drug somebody is using.
Wow.
If they don't want to take a test, it's because they're on drugs.
That's right.
Right.
And it's a great deterrent too. If you tell your kids, when you're out with your friends, let your friends know that I'm going to drug test you when you come home, so you can't get mixed up with anything that's going on at the party or anything like that. If kids say, my parents drug test me, it's a great out for them to be able to.
My kid's in college and never used drugs or alcohol because he has an out. Without being the not cool guy, he was the guy with the parents that drug tested him. And so people go, here, you want some of this? And he go, I can't do that. I'm going to get drug tested when I get home. Right. I never had to. But it gave him something that wasn't, no, I'm not cool. It gave him a way to
it gave him value
navigate.
and conscience as well, to understand what he might be doing, because you guys were going to find out.
Talk about your kids and talk to your kids about it. I would have conversations from the time they were little and tell them, listen, sooner or later somebody's going to put a joint in front of you. And it might not ruin your life, but I know when they gave that to me, it changed my entire life. All the things I cared about, they went away pretty quickly. And I didn't know I was going to trade that. So understand, you could possibly be making that choice.
I talked to my son when he was 3 years old, and I was covering news stories, people going to jail for drugs. I would always make him watch that on TV all the way up, and and everything was great. He's 37 years old now, and unbelievable.
Right.
Well, and if you're not sure, give us a call, and we'll walk you through that conversation.
Okay.
So many times I'm not sure. I give Greg a call, and Greg walks me through. Is that easy as just pick up the phone and ask for a little bit of support, and we don't have to figure out everything on our own.
Yeah.
And we deal with different regions in the 50 states, different states in different areas. Where people are a little more lackadaisical, whether it's more accepted in New York City or in some of the bigger cities where they go, well, the kids are around that. This is South Carolina. Yeah. This is a state with a rich tradition and honor at rallying when there's a battle cry or a battle situation, and taking care of the quality of your upbringing in a state like this. You're known for it from people that are from other areas. We appreciate it, and we're jealous in some ways at how it is. There's a battle going on. The rally is going on. It's time for South Carolinians to turn around and rally together and stop this before it gets really out of control. Give us a call or let us know what the problem is. Test your child. You may bruise their ego a little bit if it turns up negative, but if you think something's going on, there's a really good chance that cup Greg's talking about is going to tell you exactly what it is.
I answer the phone myself on a lot of intake calls, and I go, so tell me what's going on. And people who haven't been able to tell anybody just start talking, and there's no judgment. There is answers to questions. There's no, it's developing that relationship, and probably one of the nicest parts of the conversation is when I'll listen to whatever was happening, and I'm going, I can help you with that, because people don't know who to talk to.
And
are you going to go next door and go, my kid's on heroin, I think, or I don't know. It's the schools were sitting around. I was at a PTA meeting where the school was talking about they had found pot brownies at the school, and it was a big deal. And I said, your kids in the morning are 2 houses down from mine smoking heroin. You might want to talk about this. And they were just shocked. It's not happening. And I said, If you don't do something, they'll end up on my couch. They'll have a serious drug problem, and they'll need to go to treatment for a year. So cut it off at the pass. Be preventative on these things.
Well, I've learned a lot, and treatment centers are needed everywhere, and y'all looking at more centers opening up?
All the time. We can't open them fast enough. And South Carolina is completely underserved. There should be, where I live in a 10 square mile area, there's 29 of them.
Whoa.
29 in 10 square miles. There's 250 in the city that I live in. In South Carolina, can you name 5?
No,
I cannot.
I
well,
can't.
you
I'm not sure I
should
can
be
name
able
one.
to name
to
5
be honest,
for sure.
yeah.
I can't even name one.
A methadone clinic and an outpatient center. I was talking to one of the therapists about, how does it work? What kind of success rates do you guys see? What's going on there? And she said, they come in here and, they stay for about 30 days. And I said, okay, and where do they go after outpatient? They go back home to where they're, okay. So how many of those people do you see coming back again?
Right.
And it's about 70% of the people that have tried that keep coming back. And the ones that don't make it back, unfortunately,
don't make it back.
Don't make it back.
Yeah, you got to have support from your friends to go through this and make it, because you get in a crowd, everybody's doing it, you're going to go right back to the same thing over.
Being clean and sober is cool, and there's a movement in young people to have that, to become that now.
And I'm going to say something too that I always put in the equation, at least for this addict, and that is, I was asked earlier in the day on the phone interview, why am I here? And I said, God wanted me to come here. God doesn't want these children to not have a beautiful life, and they're not having a beautiful life right now.
Right.
We thank you, gentlemen.
That's incredible.
God, we really
you guys
do.
are doing an awesome
Learned a
job.
lot.
Thank you so
Thank you
much.
for having us.
Really
Really appreciate it.
Thank you for joining us today, and we'll be back tomorrow with another Carolina Company Live.
That's right.
Carolina and Company Live is sponsored by the businesses, organizations, and groups featured in this program. The views and opinions expressed do not necessarily reflect that of WPDE ABC 15, WWMB CW 21, or its employees.